Lakshmanan, good morning. How are you?
Fantastic. How are you, Edward?
I'm very well. Thank you so much for making time for this conversation. I've been looking forward to it.
Likewise. And the last time we met was we spoke on stage was at the Wall Street Journal CEO conference.
Exactly right. That's when we became friends, and we had the conversation subsequently, but we've got to do this again. So I'm really excited about it. And Lakshmanan, today we're going to be talking about surviving and thriving in this extraordinary crisis, this extraordinary period that we're going through. And I'm hoping that some of what we're going to hear from you is how to be more adaptable, both at a corporate level and an individual level. How can we be more nimble? How can each of us be more resilient? And then fundamentally, what does leadership look like at a time like this? But Lakshmanan, let me start with this. Would you kindly, for those people who don't know you so well, introduce yourself and tell us a little bit more about yourself and Tech Mahindra and what you're doing at Tech Mahindra?
So thank you, Edward. Tech Mahindra is a global services company. We operate at the intersection where information technology, business process, networks, and core engineering meet. This year, we'll close at $5.2 billion in revenue with 130,000 people worldwide. I serve, my name is Lakshmanan Chidambaram. Everyone calls me CTL. I live in Boston, and I serve as the President Americas for Tech Mahindra. I also serve on the board of Tech Mahindra's North America Inc. and MadPow, a behavior change management firm that we acquired recently.
Great. Now, Tech Mahindra has a very wide range of customers across the US. So to some extent, you have this incredible perspective about what's happening in the US economy. We're going to be talking about that. But let me ask, first of all, about Tech Mahindra. How is the crisis? How are you faring during this crisis? How severely hit have you been? How are you managing your way through this crisis?
Well, these have been unprecedented times, Edward. The enemy is invisible amongst us. For Tech Mahindra, fortunately, we service a wide range of customers across sectors. Some sectors have been badly hit. Some sectors have done well. And that has enabled us to absorb some of the shock. But the fact is that the post-COVID, during COVID-19 and the post-COVID-19 world are going to be very different. And, they look like thick clouds to all of us now, but we must remember that every dark cloud has a silver lining. I'm hopeful, for the future, on the following grounds. First, when we moved all our employees to work from home. And this happened in 3 weeks flat because COVID-19 took all of us by surprise. And there was no business continuity plan that's been written keeping a scenario like this in mind. So our first concern was, how will we, ensure that our customers' interest is safeguarded? And what we saw on the ground was just brilliant. It was human courage, conviction on display, and commitment. As we moved people, to work from home, not a single, force majeure clause was invoked. We did not miss on a single SLA to our customers. People virtually stayed, lived in the offices, getting people ready to work from home as various countries were going into clampdown. And more important, it was a team effort. Customers, employees, and governments all across the globe all worked as one force. And in one case, Tech Mahindra and our competitors collaborated on a WhatsApp group to share learnings. And, as we moved people to work from home. So, that was, one big miracle, that happened. And, the second part that I wanted to share with you as to why I'm confident is 40% of Tech Mahindra's revenue is repeat revenue from existing customers. And these customers have been with us for 10 years or more. And, we know the customers well, their domain well. And at this point in time, we are just focused on ensuring we do what is right for our customers. And that's already beginning to show results.
One of the great skills in leadership in this period is to be able to distinguish between, what are short-term factors that are impacting businesses like Tech Mahindra in the short term, and what are fundamental shifts in your business. But what can you describe some of the more fundamental shifts? So as we emerge from this downturn, what are the things that have changed forever for Tech Mahindra?
The jury is still out. We are all watching the situation every day as it evolves. But a few things are becoming very clear. One is, the world has embraced digital technologies much faster. It would have taken us 3 years to get there. We've got there in a month, right? And so that is one very clear thing. The second thing is customers are razor sharp focused on ensuring that they're not talking about long gestation projects. They're talking about taking costs out, adopting automation in a very big way, getting out of costly data center type assets and moving into the cloud in a much bigger way. So we will see all this accelerate in a much bigger fashion. We will see extreme automation, and the artificial intelligence infused into everything we do, and all that with the focus of improving efficiency and reducing cost. And work from home, will it go back to all at the office? That's an interesting debate that's going on right now. Maybe not all. Will it go back to 70% work from home, or will it be 50, 60% work from home? Is something that we need to wait and watch. But we believe that some amount will move to the home. And we will also attract, what I'm most excited about is, more women, getting back into the workforce, because now this will give them the flexibility of managing home as well as working, from home now. And we believe that this will bring a number of women back into the workforce, and that could be an exciting development.
So unpacking some of those points a little bit, do you expect, or are you beginning to see signs that companies are accelerating their investment in areas such as AI and automation?
Absolutely. It goes back, if you look at the leading indicators, there was a time when immediately when COVID hit its peak, there was a paralysis kind of syndrome. Things are beginning to clear now. We work across industries, and I'm a keen follower of how the railroad industry performs, because that's an lead indicator for the economy. And,
right.
They are still, way below what they did last year. But in the last 2 weeks, we are seeing an uptick across the businesses that a railroad does. That's a very good thing, from an economy perspective. From cost takeout perspective, now is a time when customers are accelerating. So everything that you said, embracing artificial intelligence, doing finite projects where you deploy digital technologies, where you can measure results very quickly, and asking firms like us to do more outcome-based risk-reward type deals, all those are coming into play.
That's interesting, your point about railroad companies. I guess the connection with the wider economy is that it's moving freight, it's moving cargo, so it's an indication of how vibrant the economy might be. But your point, coming back to your point about AI and automation, could one of the outcomes of this potentially protracted downturn be that companies are more efficient, that they're investing more in technologies that will ultimately make them more efficient? Will companies therefore be putting themselves in a position where in the long term they could be more profitable?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I think, that trend was already there even before the COVID-19 started. It's just that it's accelerated at a much faster pace right now. 3 out of 4 conversations we are having has this at the center.
Interesting. You mentioned working from home and how there's been, maybe a fundamental shift. Again, maybe that's an example of something that's impacted all of us during this short-term period. But what you're also indicating is this is going to be a longer-term trend. How do you see that playing out with the companies that you're talking to? Are we heading towards some kind of hybrid of working from home and working in the office, or what's your view of where we're heading for most average American companies?
Well, on an average, Facebook has said, has made an open statement. Twitter has made an open statement that they are very open to their employees working from home. One of our peers made an announcement that by 2025, 75% of their workforce will be from home, right? And so in some pockets, like high tech, I think it's feasible. I'll give you my view. Why do you come to an office? You come to an office for camaraderie. you come to an office when you're sitting and talking to people face to face. There are ideas that will spark, and lead to 1 + 1 = 11 kind of a syndrome. There is talk that happens around the coffee cooler, right? And so, in my opinion, it'll never go back to 100%, but neither will it go to 70% work at home and 30% at the office. I think we'll set at a medium. I would think that 60-70% at the office and 25-30% out of home would be my call. And let's look at this a year down the line and share notes.
Great. And are you kind of engaging with your own team on this as well? Are you kind of gathering opinions within your own team about how this might work out, or is it premature at this stage to predict how you and your own team might operate in this hybrid world?
Well, no, at this point in time, we are all, it's all 100%, over the video. And, we're starting at 9 a.m. and go on till, 3:34 in the evening. And, so this is something that we would like to see changed a bit, right? And for me personally, after all this, I still have to replenish my energy. So I go out on my runs, of my 5-mile runs every day. But we're all working from home right now. And but we are looking forward to a time when we do face-to-face meetings, we shake hands, we look into the eyes of people. When you're sitting in a room, Edward, sometimes there is something that's verbally said and non-verbally observed. So those are things that I do miss even now.
Right. What about travel, Lakshmanan? I mean, you typically are with a suitcase and on an airplane and heading to see customers all around North America. I mean, do you expect that level of travel to continue, or is it going to be significantly diminished?
So, I was traveling, as you know, Edward, 3 to 4 days a week and one city a day. I've come to appreciate, the time that I save from travel, right? I'm able to think and do more strategic work, which add values to our teams. So I think when this resumes, my travel will reduce by 30%. That's what I'm thinking.
Okay. Now, one of the challenges in terms of current leadership is helping people be adaptable. We're in clearly a very uncertain time. It's very hard to predict where the economy is heading. We all hope it's going to recover. But one thing is clear is we need to be very adaptable. How do you engage your team and encourage them to be more nimble, more adaptable?
We spoke about this yesterday, and I was telling our teams that normally you tell people to act like adults and be mature, and now I'm asking you to be like children, because children embrace and adapt to change faster.
Right.
Things are changing. The type of services we offered our customers 6 weeks ago is not relevant now. Right. And today we have to approach every conversation with the mindset of how can I be of service to you, right? And keep the customer's interest at heart and do what is right and adapt to this changing, evolving world. Right, do short-term projects, help our customers embrace technology, infuse AI, like we discussed before, and do all this, reduce costs, do more short-term projects, do projects linked to outcome-based risk-reward. So that will be the trend that we'll have to relate to, adapt to, and I think our teams are doing a great job, adapting to this new world.
Mm-hmm. And presumably a very closely related point is how to be a better listener to customers. In other words, if proximity to customers is essential, and the customers are changing very quickly, how are you teaching people to better understand what the new customer needs might be in this environment?
Edward, we are micro verticalized. So we really understand each of our domains, very well, whether it's banking and financial services, insurance, healthcare, life sciences. We are deeply embedded in the domain. We understand what's happening in the market. Like I said, 90% of our revenue is repeat revenue from existing customers. 40% of our customers have been with us for 10 years or more. So we understand their environment extremely well. So we'll have to, put all of this together and really, think about the changes, think about how we can apply our knowledge, our expertise in technology to help our customers win in the marketplace. And that's what we are focused on right now.
You mentioned two of the very significant trends that are underway at the moment that have been accelerated, if you like, by the COVID crisis. You talked about automation and AI, which is, let's call that, making companies more efficient. You talked about working from home or some sort of hybrid. There's a third element of that, which is which feels very fundamental, which is the shift towards e-commerce, or the rapid acceleration of shift towards e-commerce. Is that another area where of opportunity for Tech Mahindra?
Oh, absolutely. In fact, people, customers are delaying investments in physical, whether it is retail stores or bank branches, that's not where they want to put money. They want to strengthen their online channels. In one case, a customer of ours, has enabled, what's called e-home, which allows people, to buy $1 million home sitting from home without having to visit any branch. So very clearly, the investment is in automating and reducing cost. The investments are going into strengthening online channels of reach to customers very clearly.
Just a reminder to our audience that we will be taking your questions. So do begin to think about questions you might have for Lakshmanan about leadership in this time of crisis, and we'll be coming back to those questions in a few minutes' time. But Lakshmanan, back to you. What's been the biggest challenge for you personally in this crisis? Have you adapted yourself to this crisis?
Well, to me, the first thing is we saw a torrent of bad messages come in, right? You switch on the television every day, what you hear from morning till evening. One day of television is enough to put you into a depressed mode for a week, I presume. So, at one point, the thinking was, such a big tidal wave has hit us. It's going to take anyway, 3 quarters for this to recover. And let's curl up in a corner. And, as a leader, I believe that my role is to create an environment of positive energy. We are resilient as a human race. We have overcome many such calamities, and downturns in the past, and this too shall pass. So what I have done is it's all about communication. And what we have done is our directs, we used to meet once a week, every Friday. Now we made it a coffee hangout call at 8 a.m. every morning. And we have conversations, we take difficult decisions, but every conversation ends on a positive note. And, I look at it as throwing the stone into a pond, and then you see the reverberations that spread. So everyone who leaves that call, goes back with that positive energy, which should touch, everyone they deal with as they go forward during the day, whether it's in their personal life or their professional life, right? And so that is one. And the second thing that I'm realizing is, you are getting bad news during the day. Customers are postponing projects, asking for discounts. All that happens during the day, and you do feel depleted. And that's why, like I told you, I run 5 miles. At this time, I'm fortunate to have the Ashland State Park near me, and its tranquility, and it kind of replenishes my energy, and to be ready, the next day.
Well, on a related point. More or less, sort of at an early stage in the crisis, you were on a run, and you paused in your run, and you shot a video, which was just sharing some thoughts that you've been having on the run about how to manage your way through the crisis. And you posted the video on LinkedIn. It went viral, to your surprise. It had an extraordinary number of views. What did you learn from that experience?
None of that was intended, Edward. It was spontaneous. I was running, and it was during the time when when we were moving 90,000 people to work from home in India. And, I told you about, what a great job the entire team did. And as I was running, I always, keep, there are certain thoughts that come to my mind. And at that time, it was gratitude. I was looking at people, when they should have been with their families. They were spending time in the office, living in the office practically. And it was a burst of gratitude. I just broke my run, pulled out my phone, and said thank you to all these people, right? Because they enabled our employees to deliver world-class work from home, helping our customers be successful. And then it automatically led to saying thank you to the families. right? For enabling them, for creating an environment where they can work. And then, we always, a culture is not built overnight. You do it by, repeating it again and again till it gets into the DNA of your people. So there are, things that we talk about, like, our organization should be a organization where everyone is a leader, so everyone acts as a leader without title. We talk about positive energy. We talk about, operating from a circle of abundance, all that. So, I repeated those messages. And, I came back and looked at the video, and because I was running, it was, a bit of a bad hair day. So I said, let me delete this video and we'll repost it again. And I showed it to a good friend, Vrinda, who handles our corporate communication. And she sent back saying, don't delete it. Just post it. It's spontaneous. It has rough edges. I like it. Now, what did I learn from it? There are two things. One is, gratitude is very important. And then, when you say something in India, we call it dil se, when it comes from the heart. When you speak the truth from the bottom of your heart, it's always powerful, right? And the second thing is, what you talk about should not be about you. It should be something bigger than you. It should be with the motto to serve, right? And my belief is, if both those are there, it resonates with people. That was my learning.
You mentioned, you said just now, and also in your video, that everyone is a leader. Can you expand on that? What do you mean by that?
We are 130,000 people. And, just close your eyes. Think, Edward, you're on a beach looking into the ocean. And, just imagine one wave. There are multiple waves coming. Do you see one wave asking another, oh, you're going to go first, I'm going to go second, and he's going to go third? It's just beautiful, seamless, effortless, and there's a force much beyond us at work. And our thought process was, how do we create an organization where everyone is a leader? Title doesn't matter. Everyone will do things because it's the right thing to do, right? And for that, as leaders, we have to create an environment that's non-political, where people can travel the distance between good and exception, where people in the team can turn back and ask a leader, point out things that are wrong boldly and know that, it will be taken in the right spirit, right? And, we've been espousing this cause for a while. And, what I felt that it was succeeding when there was a team that was doing manual testing for a customer with a large team, and they came up with an idea of automation during the initial days. And everyone celebrated, but what happened there was it reduced 50% of the team size, which means 50% of our revenue. And so the question came back and said, should we do this? Because our revenue is going to get affected. And the instantaneous message that went back was, yes, let's do what's right for our customer, because it's, again, a very naive statement. You can't go wrong by doing what is right for your customer. And wherever we have done that, Edward, repeatedly, business has always gone up. Now, that was not, that was good. But what was great was this team found another team which was doing all this, but not incorporating automation in a big way. So they went back and pointed out the mistakes that were being made, shared the learnings, and made them adopt. And this happened, just by individuals acting as leaders. And so that is what we are propagating right now at every level in the organization. And I'm thrilled with the journey that we are, taking on that front. And I'm sure that it'll, that will take us to a different level altogether.
And that's a great anecdote of sort of on the ground, in the moment, innovation. How do you reward that behavior?
You just celebrate. You celebrate success. You point out, because, we are a growing organization. We need leaders for the future. And you need leaders who understand our culture. And that has to come, I would love 8 out of 10 leaders to come homegrown. And we always look out for people who show these characteristics. And they are ready, when we acquire new companies, when we start a new business, we bring in, these are the people who are first moved in, to take over these responsibilities. And, once you send that, once this is visible, everyone knows that these are values that the organization celebrates. And that's how we do it.
Great. Lakshmanan, we mentioned the fact that you have this, one of the unusual elements of your role is you get to have incredible access to a very wide range of companies right across the country. So you have some insights, if you like, about where the economy is heading. It is the biggest economy in the world. What are you hearing about recovery? Some people talk about an L-shaped recovery, as in we've gone down, we stay down. Some people are talking about a U-shaped economy. It'll come back, but come back slowly. Sometimes people are talking about a V-shaped economy. What are you hearing, and what's your analysis of the situation?
Yeah, I think everyone is cautiously optimistic. As we discussed, restaurants are beginning to open up, all over the US. There is a level of impatience for people to want to get back to some kind of a normal. But it's very clear that this virus is here to stay with us. We are seeing a second round of resurgence in different parts of the globe. But the good thing is we now know more about this virus. We know that a vaccine is still 3 to 4 quarters away. And, by taking all the right precautions, we could get back to some kind of near normal. Right. And, my belief is, with all the spikes and the it could be a W-shaped recovery or a U-shaped recovery. As we see it, we'll see some ups and downs before the vaccine falls in place, and we just need to learn to work with the new normal.
Okay, so a little bit of zigzagging in the economy to come, and we need to kind of continue to be nimble. Now, Lakshmanan, we're gonna move to our audience's questions very shortly, but let me just ask one or two very quick questions about you personally and how you spend your leisure time. Let me start with this. How has your lifestyle changed, and do you see some of those lifestyle changes being permanent?
For sure, I think travel is going to be, travel will reduce, number one. Number two, I was a bad cook, Edward. And YouTube is a big go-to. So next time when you're in Boston, I'll cook for you, right? And so I've learned cooking, and I feel pretty good about it. I've watched some new age filmmakers are making some wonderful movies. I've been watching Netflix pretty regularly, and so lots of things have changed.
What do you listen to when you go running? Do you listen to podcasts, to music? What kind of material do you listen to?
Largely I like to run alone. And when I run alone, I like to be with myself. And many things, you read, like I read a book called The One Thing. And, long story short, the author, it's a New York Times bestseller. And the author said in life, both professional and personal, you can do just one thing. You may do many other things, but the many other things should be focused on that one thing. So now you read something as powerful like this, and then I'm running, and it comes back to you. It like kind of tugs at your coattails, and you keep thinking. And I kept asking myself, what is that one thing? And it came very clearly. For us, it's customer delight. We will do what is right for our customers, which means we'll have to have trained employees, who understand digital technologies very well. We'll do that. We need happy employees to come to work, because if they're, only happy employees can make magic happen. So we'll create that environment where employees are happy when they come to work. So all that, but focused on that one thing. So I, listen to people, talk to people, read, and when I run alone, right? And YouTube is one thing that I watch a lot, and Netflix, Primetime, all of those.
Well, being able to hear your own thoughts is also important. Talking about one thing, what's the one business book that everybody on this video call should have read, should be reading?
I like Simon Sinek a lot. And when you say a business book, paralleling business book, Doris Kearns Goodwin has just written a book called Leadership in Turbulent Times. It's historical because it talks about the leadership style of presidents, but it's very business-like because you really get to understand, how these presidents thought and, how they overcame crises, which you can relate to your business. So, I'm a big fan of hers, and, Leaders Eat Last is Simon Sinek's latest book that I read. So there's a lot of reading that's happening, because you're getting a little more time from all the travel that we are not doing.
And I hope, Lakshmanan, you're also getting some time to relax. So what's the one Netflix series that everyone should be watching? What have you seen that you've really enjoyed?
Nothing very highly intellectual. I love Breaking
Good.
Bad. I love Sacred Games. All those serials where you let down and watch. And there are three ladies at home, my wife and two daughters. So they love HGTV. So all these interior decorating stuff is something which I didn't really was not to engage at the beginning, but I've started liking quite a bit.
Great. Well, Lakshmanan, we're going to move to questions now. We have a question here from Shalini, who asks, how do you manage dissatisfied customers?
In the first place, nothing wrong happens suddenly, right? The warning signals are always there, Edward. You just let it pass. It gets bigger and bigger till it becomes a fully, a serpent with its hood out, and then, putting it back in is difficult. So the important thing is, for us, defining the culture. If you say customer delight is number one, the moment something starts going wrong, and in life, some things will go wrong, right? You catch it early on. And once you catch it early on, culturally, everyone drops everything and focuses on just ensuring that gets solved, right? And assume that something has really gone wrong beyond the point. It's very important to, get through to the customer, talk to them about what went wrong, why it went wrong, what are you doing to set this situation right, and ensuring that we put in the right resources and constantly in communication with the customer as you move it back from red to amber to green. And with that, you will establish trust with the customer.
And communication by phone rather than email?
By phone, for sure. In person, right? And these are times when in-person meetings are very important. And maybe I'll share one real-life example, which will answer this question. We have a large automotive customer who had been a customer for 2 decades now, and they gave us the responsibility for developing a complex warranty project. Now, things were not scoped out properly. And, the people who decided on the project moved out, new managers came in, and there was a difference of opinion on what we committed to do, what was expected and not, right? And the project didn't go on time because there were many things that were wrong from the customer side and our side. And it went to a point where we had to sit down and say, should we pull out of this project? Because that was a possibility, right? And so we sat down and debated. And we found that, we could have asked 4 questions, which could have avoided this situation. And then we went back to the core, principles, customer delight. So we had an open conversation with them, and they said, no, we are not willing to pay you anything. You will have to bear the cost and set it right. And since we thought that 4 out of 10, we were wrong, we decided that we would take the cost for this. That was close to $2 million at that point in time. It was a big decision. The good thing was the project got done. It was a super success. It saved the customer $60 million a year. We rolled it out globally. The business with that customer has grown 30%.
Yeah.
So, it goes back to that life statement I made. You can't go wrong by doing what is right. A constant communication is important. Being transparent and honest to your goals and ideals that you've laid out is important.
Lakshmanan, I have a question you from Ahmed Abdelkaray, who asks, how should teams work together in the current environment?
Well, we were already in an agile world where teams across the globe, were working, on a real-time basis. So I think that should continue. If we adopt the agile model of delivery, we'll be good to go.
Great. Well, Lakshmanan, I think we're done. Thank you. I want to thank you very much for your time. I want to wish you and your team well for the rest of the summer of this turbulent period. And can we do this again? I'd love to check in with you in a few months' time and see how the V-shaped economy is working for you and what's coming next for Tech Mahindra.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Edward, for your time. I enjoyed, as always, our discussion, your incisive questions. And we must do this, as this crisis evolves. And, next time, we would love to learn from you as well as you help navigate the Wall Street Journal and Dow Jones through these interesting times.
Great. Thanks so much, Lakshmanan. Enjoy the rest of the day.
Thank you. Bye-bye.